Russia threatens to deploy hypersonic missiles to its borders. The United States did not give a constructive response to the basic elements of the draft agreement on security guarantees. Because of this, Russia will be forced to take military technical measures, said the Russian Foreign Ministry. According to the Russian Foreign Ministry, almost all Moscow's key demands, put forward in December, were ignored. The Kremlin's letter said the U.S. did not provide a response to their demands. It's about giving up the further expansion of NATO, about the withdrawal of the Bucharest Formula, whereby Ukraine and Georgia will become members of NATO, and the refusal to create military bases on the territory of states formerly part of the USSR and non-members of the NATO alliance, including the use of their infrastructure to conduct any military activity, and the return of NATO military capabilities, including strike capabilities, and infrastructure to the 1997 status, when the NATO-Russia Founding Act was signed. These stipulations are of fundamental importance to the Russian Federation. The only point on which it was possible to find common grounds is the settlement of claims under the already abolished Treaty on Intermediate Range and Shorter Range Missiles, the Kremlin said. In particular, Moscow is ready to accept for review a proposal to inspect missile defense systems in Poland and Romania. However, the Russian Foreign Ministry emphasizes that the United States ignored the package nature of the Russian proposals, deliberately chose convenient topics, and twisted them in its favor. Ultimatum demands to withdraw troops from certain areas in Russian territory, accompanied by threats of tougher sanctions, are unacceptable and undermine the prospects for reaching real agreements, the Foreign Ministry wrote, referring to 150,000 Russian troops deployed near the borders of Ukraine. Because there is no readiness by the American side and its allies to agree on firm, legally binding security guarantees, Russia will be forced to respond, including through the implementation of military technical measures, the document reads. The Russian Foreign Ministry did not specify what measures these could be. Financial Times reports, citing sources close to the Kremlin, that it could be the deployment of hypersonic missiles on Russia's borders. So, we're going to show them we're serious, one of the sources explained. Putin said last October that Russia had achieved superiority over the United States in creating
Слава Україні!
Відходим, відходим! Балун, дай! Давай, Корцова!
А, ні, сліди крові.
Все контрактники? А вы войсковики, судя по форме?
Разведрота.
Разведрота к чего?
57-я разведрота.
Там сюда. Где взяли? Где? Под каким поселком?
Ты не хотел позаботить меня, ответ нема. Адекватно. Тебе надо в том помогать.
Ну а сейчас что думаешь? Воевать надо или домой идти?
Домой надо идти.
Дома ждут?
Да.
Гордятся службой твоей?
Нет.
Вообще в целом об этой войне. Как в целом относятся здесь?
Хорошо.
А ожидали какого отношения?
Ожидали хуже, конечно.
Товарищи украинские военнослужащие, вы, как лица, добровольно сдавшие оружие, полностью не подвергаетесь никакой опасности. Вашей жизни ничего не угрожает. Вы находитесь на территории Луганской Народной Республики и находитесь под ее защитой. Чуть позже вам доведут еще нужную информацию. Сейчас вам будет оказана вся необходимая помощь, медицинская. Также вам предоставят возможность позвонить своим близким. Медик запишет фамилию, имя, отчество, на что жалуетесь и какая вам помощь необходима. В случае там оказания помощи подходит один к медику. Вот, пишите и фамилия, имя, отчество, там все написано. Да, по очереди давайте так, чтобы не путаться. Вот, присаживайся, как только увидишь. Ну честно.
Следующий кто?
Все будет нормально, не переживайте, все хорошо. Вы в безопасности, как я еще раз говорю, вы под защитой Луганской Народной Республики.
Мам, привет. Ну да, только с другого номера. Слушай, все нормально у меня, мам. Я в Луганске, со мной ничего не случится в безопасности. Как только буду свободный, чем быстрее закончится война, буду дома, увидимся.
Да, привет, это Малой. У меня все хорошо.
Привет.
Конечно, могли бы и никто бы не спрашивать бы, как бы и в плен бы не брать, но поступили по-человечески, поступили так, я считаю, как каждый считает, что человек должен поступать другим, как бы хотел, ну, с другим, как бы хотел, чтобы поступили с ними. Вот этот сам момент, он очень в войне редко случается, чтобы вы понимали.
Pushing for a ceasefire and the withdrawal of Russian troops from its territory. The discussions are being hosted by Belarus in this room near the Ukrainian border. Ukraine's delegation includes the defense minister and the deputy foreign minister. Meanwhile, Ukrainians have been forced to take shelter as the Russian invasion continues. The government says it's still in control of all major cities, but pressure is growing on the strategic port of Mariupol. Kiev and Kharkiv have also endured heavy attacks. Ukraine says more than 350 civilians have been killed. And we're seeing live pictures now of the situation in the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv. These live pictures may suggest calm, but many people are still seeking cover in shelters and underground train stations. A general curfew kept people inside until Monday morning, but many still fear an attack on the city is imminent, and they're staying indoors. US officials said on Sunday that Belarus was preparing to send soldiers into Ukraine to support Russia's attack, and we'll bring you more on this as soon as we get it. Let's get the latest now from DW correspondent Fanny Fachar on the ground. She's in western Ukraine in the city of Khmelnytsky. Fanny, how has the situation developed in Ukraine overnight?
Everyone is on the edge. We are in the western part of Ukraine, but even here, sirens went off again in the middle of the night. People wondering what to do, go to the bunker. Does it even make sense to go to the bunker? Really, there is a feeling of where are you really safe right now? But the shelling at least stopped for a few hours in the cities of Kharkiv and in Kyiv, but they started again just before dawn. So people there, especially in Kyiv right now, in the capital city, and in Kharkiv, where there are intense fighting that are ongoing between Ukrainian forces and between Russian forces, people who live in these big cities are especially concerned and worried, just not just for one, how those negotiations are going to go on today between a Ukrainian delegation and the Russian delegation, what consequences that's going to mean for Ukraine. But also simply people are panicking at this point, regardless which part of Ukraine you are, but especially in the eastern, in the northern and in the southern part of Ukraine, because those parts are intensely bombed and have been experiencing intense shelling over the course of the past few days since this full-case invasion started last week on Thursday.
Funny, new satellite images show a Russian military convoy outside Kyiv that is nearly 5 kilometers long that suggests a major assault could be imminent. Is Kyiv prepared to defend itself?
President Zelensky, in fact, just announced that he's going to release prisoners with any military experience, with any experience to go to the front line and fight. Now, already a few days ago, he said, anyone who's able to hold a gun, please show up, I'll issue you a gun and make sure that you help the Ukrainian forces. So here you have it, of course. The Ukrainian government, of course, is very much aware of the fact that they're inferior compared to the Russian troops when it comes to the quantity of soldiers, the quantity of equipment. At the same time, that Russian force that is encircling many parts of the Ukrainian border and is invading on many parts from Belarus and from Russia, they're facing a very resistant population here. So not just the military force, but also a lot of civilians who are, by the way, just across from here, are signing up to be drafted, even the ones who are supposedly to be drafted anyhow, but they don't even want to wait for that phone call. They want to go to the front line, they want to fight, and they want to defend their country.
Funny, we're also getting reports, mainly on social media, of food shortages, supermarkets with empty shelves. What can you tell us?
Indeed, a lot of supermarkets and the ones who are still open actually have a problem providing just enough for everyone. But that doesn't mean that people do not have access to food, at least when it comes to places for example, like this one where we are right now. People are donating whatever they can for those who arrive here, IDPs, internally displaced people, but they also donate for people who live in this town. For example, elderly people who have no access to anything anymore. Their relatives have left or are trying to leave across the border. Close to here is the Romanian border, close meaning about a 3-hour drive, but at least closer than going towards Poland, which is about a 10-12-hour drive right now. So everybody's trying to pitch in here and trying to support each other. It's incredible and very impressive to me to see that in this very, very volatile time for Ukraine, for its security, but with possible implications, of course, for the rest of the world, people here on the ground are not hiding in their apartments. They're coming out, they're trying to support each other, and they want to motivate each other that they are going to win this very, very terrible fight that's going on right now over the sovereignty of their own country.
Funny, in terms of morale of the population, there's some strong signals of solidarity with the Ukrainian people coming out of Europe on Sunday from Germany and the EU sending more weapons to hundreds of thousands of demonstrators across Europe calling for an end to Russian aggression. How is that being received in Ukraine?
One short answer, finally. That's the word that I've heard here quite often today. Finally, there's more arriving. I mean, we're speaking here about a 450 million increase of defense budget for the European Union to provide weapons, military gear for Ukraine for the very first time in EU history. Also, NATO's head Stoltenberg just announced that more is coming, more military support is coming from NATO. But you also have the voices of those who said, why actually just now? Why not even before this full-scale invasion started last week? And many others are also saying, how about sending European troops here, NATO troops? But of course, we all know that this is going to likely be an even bigger confrontation. Just imagine there were Russian troops facing US troops. This is definitely something seems very much inconceivable at this point. But of course, with people bearing the brunt here in Ukraine, for them, everything is important, no matter at what price, as long as they have this feeling that there is really support coming, and not just words, but actually that the words of the Western allies among them are put in action for the support of the Ukrainian civilians especially.
Finally, we've talked about the peace talks that are happening today. Is it giving people, ordinary people on the street there in Ukraine, any hope?
Just the hope that maybe during that time while the negotiation is ongoing, maybe there's a pause in fighting. Having said that, no, actually people here on the ground, at least the ones I've been speaking to, say they don't believe this is going to bring any change, because after all, this negotiation is taking place while this country is being bombed by Russia, while aggression increases, while people are dying and are being injured. But they hope, at least, given the fact that this negotiation is to take place. After all, the Ukrainian delegation has also arrived, represented by the Ukrainian defense minister and also the advisor to the president, and also the Russians are there now. At least there's this little hope. Okay, so there is a door open to talk to each other, to listen to each other, and to somehow use that very small chance that there still is to avert an even a bigger escalation here, with implications not just for Ukraine, but really when it comes to the peace and the security architecture of the whole world.